All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to day 3 of the 12 days of e-commerce Christmas. Once again, produced by ecommerceruns.com blog. It's the Konga course presented by yours truly, Chiodogu. And this is day 3 of the 12 days of e-commerce Christmas. So, just a quick recap. We've talked about the 7 mistakes that Konga sellers make during the Christmas shopping season, and I've covered 3 items thus far. I talked about product listings on the first day. On the second day, I talked about KPI metrics and inventory level management. Today's the 3rd day, so keeping in that theme, I'll be talking about 3 issues. First one is still inventory buildup after Christmas debt / BC, and of course pricing. All right, let's jump in without further ado. So, first one, still inventory buildup. By mid-December, you probably will be looking at a bunch of your old stock still on hand in your store. So, what are you going to do? You can't just leave your old stock that is really not selling and you've probably had since January or February or even middle of the year, September or whatever. So, this is a great opportunity for you to slash your product. So right now we have some fiscal challenges in Nigeria because of the exchange rate policies implemented by the central bank. So what's going to happen is that typically when you look at your accounting policy, most people that sell inventory either do FIFO or LIFO. Now let me quickly explain. FIFO means first in, first out. So first inventory that you buy is the first one you sell, or last inventory that you just buy. Take for example, if you just bought something last week and it sells out this week, that's LIFO. So depending on how you do it, that affects the calculation of your profit margin and whatnot. But if you're going to slash your stale inventory, what's going to happen? You become, instead of FIFO or LIFO, you're going to do FILO, which is first in, last out, and that'll help produce some profits for your store. Now bear in mind, of course, slashing it, you're not going to maintain your initial margins that you had projected, but what it's going to do is at least going to give you some incremental profit and buffer that you can use to buy more stuff. So look at it like your old stock can still be used just to juice up your profits and help you sell. That's basically all you have to do with your old inventory. So I mean, you're not going to just keep things on hand and have your money tied up in inventory and wasting away. So you might as well use that to generate some sales for yourself. Now, after the Christmas debt / BC. So what am I talking about here? Well, basically, I'm talking about you thinking of clearing your debts, both your payables and your receivables. All right, I know I'm getting into a bit of accounting here, but just bear with me. It's going to make sense. So payables are basically debts that you owe your suppliers for pre-ordered stock or your new stock. So if, for example, you have a supplier in, let's say, Alaba market, and they've given you some goods on consignment to sell on the internet, and you haven't paid, you told them you pay once you get your money, then that's basically your payable. So once you sell, you pay the cost of the goods, and of course, you take your profit off the top. Now, receivables is what your customers owe you. So basically, if you sell something on credit, for example, you don't get that money in cash. You get what is called an accounting receivable, meaning you expect to receive that money at a future or at a later date. Now, this kind of comes into play in e-commerce when you're looking at cash on delivery, which is a little bit shorter, or you have a very long return window. So you don't, let's not jump into accounting with the debit and the credit. So basically, is what your customers owe you. Either you send something to them before they pay you, or basically you're waiting to collect the cash on the money, or even if you're paid with credit card or Konga Pay or KPay as it's called, you still have some lag, maybe a week or 2 weeks before the money clears. So that's kind of like your receivable, although technically it could be cash, but you can look at it as your receivable. Now what you want to do is you want to limit as much as possible all debt. Like I said, there's some financial challenges going on in the country, difficulty to receive or access foreign exchange. So you do want to think about limiting your exposure in terms of payables and receivables. It's better for you to collect your cash upfront, and then if you want to talk about receivables is that's the only way you're financing and floating your store. What you need to do is you need to negotiate with your suppliers for discounts and extended payback times and honor those commitments. Because look at it, you're building a relationship, not a transaction with your suppliers. So if you tell them, hey, country is currently going through challenges, I know I typically used to pay in a month, but if you give me another 60 days or another 30, 45 days or whatever, I'll be able to come up with the money and pay you on time, and I'll honor the agreement that I entered with you. So you have to use that time as a buffer to figure out creative ways to source for dollars, essentially, or pounds, or whatever foreign currency you're using to transact and buy from your suppliers. So basically, talk to them, have that conversation with them, whether your suppliers are abroad or in Nigeria. Figure out what you need to do to make it a win-win for you and your supplier. Now, the next one is pricing of your products. So whenever someone shops for their store and buys inventory, you typically have a markup, which is called keystone markup. Maybe it will be 3 times your cost or whatever. I'm going to delve into this later when I create a lecture, when I unveil the lecture on e-commerce and how the whole chain works. We're talking about, what's the difference between an e-commerce retailer, a distributor, a wholesaler, and of course a manufacturer. And so when I break it down and I show you the graphics, you're going to see exactly what I mean by keystone pricing. So put that out of your mind for now until I get to that lecture. So basically, you want to price your less popular and less attractive products competitively to appeal to customers. Because if these things have been sitting on the shelf for months or weeks, you know that the market is not moving. And so for you to move market, you have to do what it takes. So I would suggest you use it as a lead generator. Maybe you offer the product to your customers if they buy a certain threshold. So take, for example, you could say, if you spend 25,000 naira on our store, we'll throw in X item for free. Or you could say you could buy one product and you can get this or other product for 50, 60, 70, whatever percentage off. So basically, you need to come up with creative ways to move things that are not really selling. That's the issue. So sometimes we don't really do our research when we're buying stuff and selling. We tend to go with the trends, and trends change on a whim, so you don't know what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. But if you try and implement some creative strategies, like I said, using some of your slow moving or non-moving inventory as a lead generator, you generate a lot of goodwill and create buzz for your shop, and that can be the turning point for your store. So that's it, guys. The third day of e-commerce Christmas. I talked about pricing. I talked about your after Christmas debt / busy, and I also talked about your stale inventory buildup. So yeah, go forth, ladies and gentlemen. Do good with the information I've just handed out to you guys. Crush it. Today is the 17th. We've got 24th is like in 7 days. We have 8 days to go, man. Let's see if we can make some difference this Christmas. Okay. All right. With that said, you always know where to contact me. Leave me a message. You can go on my blog, the contact page, if you want to email me. On my podcast, I also have a contact page there if you want to email me. On the YouTube channel, check me out. Like, share my other videos. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. That's the fastest way for you to get new videos direct into your inbox. And of course, if you want to leave any comments, questions, and what have you, let's start the conversation off on the YouTube channel. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas in advance. And of course, keep crushing your sales. Cheers. Bye.